Reporting from Arkham Asylum, this is Gotham Rogues. In this video we take a look at the storyline Batman, Mimsy were the Borogoves. So this video is going to be a bit different. For once I won't be doing it alone, as I'll receive assistance from our resident Wonderland aficionado, JJHatter. Take it away, JJ.
Thank you for the introduction, Rogues. All Mimsy Were the Borogoves is a one-shot published in Detective Comics number 787 in 2003. It was written by Brian K. Vaughan and penciled by Rick Burchett. I hope I pronounced that correctly. In the story, Dr. Kirk Langstrom, aka Man-Bat, has been kidnapped, and a riddle has been left at the crime scene. Why is a raven like a writing desk? The police suspect our beloved Enigma, of course, but Batman naturally recognizes it as a quote from Alice in Wonderland, which sends him on the hunt for the Mad Hatter. It turns out that Jervis has escaped Arkham, again, and this time taken his psychiatrist with him, Jeffrey Yorks. So what is dear old Mr. Tetch up to this time? Why has he kidnapped Langstrom and his Arkham doctor? Well, as we discover, Jervis is forcing a mind-controlled Kirk to create a special serum, using samples from his Man-Bat persona as well as from Killer Croc and Solomon Grundy. A serum which will transform its user into a real-life Jabberwock. And who shall consume this serum? Why, Dr. Jeffrey Yorks, of course. Why, you ask? Well, the good doctor has been unable to crack Tetch's psychosis, and Jervis now wants to help him with this. He wants Yorks to understand him, but to do that he must first see the world through his eyes. The eyes of a mad monster.
Thank you, JJ. So, when I did my top 5 best Hatter stories video, I had to search high and low for quality Hatter comics. They were very hard to come by, but I managed, somewhat. However, during my search, I somehow missed out on this one. I had never heard of it before, and didn't become aware of its existence until I saw JJ's list, where he had places as number 10, I believe. So, now that I've read it, would I place it on my list? I'm actually not quite sure. If I would, it would replace my number 5, Unknowing. That story features probably Jervis's biggest scheme to date, as he takes over most of the GCPD with his mind control technology, and is thus able to descend the city into chaos. However, his motivations are weak, and the portrayal of the character is very unsympathetic. This story, however, features a somewhat sympathetic Jervis, with quite interesting and unique motivations. He's not after chaos, money, young girls, or anything of the usual. Instead, all he wants is for his doctor to understand him. Of course, he goes about it in a very strange way. But then again, they don't call him the Mad Hatter for nothing. And yeah, the whole Jabberwock thing, that's certainly different. We're used to seeing Hatter employ armies of mind-controlled goons, but never before or after has he done anything this crazy. Just that alone is reason enough to read the story. They didn't even need to give the character any proper motivations, but they did, and I really appreciate that. Does it make 100% sense? Maybe not. The idea is that Jervis is so crazy that he can't even comprehend reality whatsoever, which is exactly what it's like for the Doctor when he's in a Jabberwock state. He becomes a disoriented and wild beast. In other words, this Mad Hatter is the totally cuckoo one, not the tragic nerd in love from the animated series. But that is what we usually get in the comics, a complete loon who can barely string a single comprehensive sentence together. That version feels less like an actual character, and more like just this weird cartoon character. It's not necessarily a bad thing. While I do like this story, I have to say that it, along all Hatter comics really, just makes me wish I was watching Taz instead. Nowhere else has Jervis been portrayed as well as he was on that show. And I know I've harped on about that in the past, but it's been a while now. Nothing can equal the animated series Hatter. That is the Hatter. To me, these comics feel like adaptations, and not the other way around. But anyway, among Hatter comics, this one is one of the better ones. As for Kirk Langstrom, he's just used by Jervis, and never once does he turn into Man-Bat. It would seem he's completely wasted, but I actually kinda like it. It was nice to just see Langstrom, and it would be pretty ridiculous if he turned into Man-Bat all the time. After all, he's trying to avoid transforming. I don't have much to say about the art. It's alright, but I do really like the design for Tetch. It's sort of a mix of the classic comics Hatter and the Taz look. So JJ, how about you share some of your thoughts on this story?
I'll try to keep this short and sweet for 2 reasons. One is that I already spoke about this story on the list you mentioned, so I don't want to repeat too much. The other is that I think I agree with you on just about everything. While I personally prefer Unknowing as a story, just due to the size of Jervis's plan, what I love about this comic is that it captures something about the Hatter I think a lot of writers forget. He shouldn't be taken too seriously. This is not to say that Jervis can't be a threat or a menace, he's proved that time and time again, but this is a villain who is, and should be, at least a little bit outlandish in nature. He's based off of the nonsense of Wonderland, a world that is designed to run on logic that is either warped and convoluted, or even non-existent. This story seems to understand that, but still manages to make the Hatter an interesting and even sympathetic character too. I personally get the feeling he's not out to truly do harm, but simply try to show someone else what it's like to live in his world. It's a unique sort of scheme in every way, and while it's completely insane, to be blunt, that's sort of the point. Like you, however, the quote-unquote true Mad Hatter for me will always be the version from the animated series. I thoroughly agree it's a little alarming how the comics have somehow never portrayed Jervis as beautifully as Roddy McDowall and the team on Taz did. But que sera, sera.
So there you have it. That's Mimsy or the Borogoves. I can't really choose between this one and Unknowing. I do like the Hatter in this story better, and the Jabberwock is awesome, but you gotta respect the grand scale of Jervis's scheme in the other story. Anyway, thanks to JJ for appearing, and as always, remember, Arkham Asylum awaits you in the next video.